You'd be surprised the amount of information about people you can simply find online. Before, there was libraries to visit, inquiries at City Hall, phone books to check. You'd have to jump through 1,000 hoops before you could hardly get any information at all. These days, all you really have to do is a simple search on the internet. Within the hour, I had his company's history, photos of his home from the street view of the map software, or the front gate at least, darn privacy walls, the current dealings of his company. It wasn't much harder, thanks to social media, for me to get a list of their current and past employees even. Isn't modern technology wonderful? Sheri had told me the project he was working on, XJ-1889, was supposed to be this brand new secret missile system, a revolution in the industry. The problem with the system was that it didn't work, at least not completely. They had faked some tests and some number cruncher in the Pentagon had figured it all out. Before you could say, whoops, the entire project had been canceled. When I asked her why I didn't hear about any of this, she simply said, "He has friends in the news. They buried the story for him." So that part of things simply didn't make sense. Another red flag went up. Why would any reporter put their career on the line by not reporting such a big story? Even for a friend, that sounds like a stretch. Plus, it would have been national news, probably international. A scandal in the Pentagon of that caliber would be the kind of attention that would be seen anywhere on this planet. Something else felt wrong too, almost like putting on a pair of wet underwear. An ick factor was all over this. But the thought of actually chasing a real baddie, someone doing some dastardly deed instead of some love-struck husband or wife playing hide the sausage in a sleazy hotel somewhere, was too much for me to let go. I got bit by the excitement of it all and ignored my better judgment. I should learn to listen to that little voice someday instead of just jumping in with both feet because a case sounds exciting. I drove to his house hoping to speak to Mr. Crane at least. The best place to start in all of this seemed to be catching things from his side. His mansion sat on a hill, almost like a castle, surrounded by green grass and perfectly selected trees to give the place just enough shade that when you view it from the windows and the drive up. The property was much larger than it seemed on the internet. Each tree seemed to be placed almost equal distance from each other, as if they had been planted on a strange grid system. The privacy wall was made of white stone and surrounded the entire place, the same stone that matched the house. A Fortune 500 executive or a drug lord could have lived there for all I knew. Neither would have surprised me. When I buzzed the gate, I met very little resistance after I mentioned Sheri's name. As the gate parted and my Civic slowly crept up the drive, I craned my head, taking in all the sights like a tourist. Most places I go to on the job is sleazy, run-down hotels, no-tell motels, and the occasional back office. This was quite a step up from my usual escapades, and I must admit that at that point in time, I was starting to enjoy myself. A man in his mid-40s met me outside. He had thinning hair up top, but a decent build for a guy's age. He was wearing an old t-shirt with the Armored Arrow logo on it, and their slogan, "Building Defense," whatever the hell that means. "How did you know Sheri?" he snarled. "I'm her private investigator," I said. "It is here that I must tell you most private investigators won't just come up to you and say, 'Hello, I've been paid to investigate you.' And this is the reason why." This man reared back and punched me in the gut as hard as he could. I was unprepared for violence of any kind. I hit the ground gasping, trying to regain my breath. "You got a lot of nerve making a joke like that," he said. "It's not a joke," I gasped out. He reared back and kicked me in the face. I wasn't fast enough to dodge it and caught a sneaker to my nose. It burst immediately, spraying blood everywhere. "The hell it isn't!" he shouted, picking me up by the shirt collar. "If I ever see you in here again, or see you near me, if I even think I heard you breathe her name, I will beat you to death. You hear me? Now get out of here!" I drove down the driveway, back out of the place. The adrenaline rush was starting to wear off just a bit, giving me an edge to the pain in my nose. It throbbed with my pulse, blood dripping down onto my shirt, steering wheel, just about everything I touched, honestly. I began to drive to the hospital, but something kept nagging at me in the back of my mind. I had to wonder, what was I missing? There was a puzzle piece missing here on this entire investigation. It had something to do with that bruise. The image of it appeared in my head while I drove. It was strange. Circle within a circle. A fist would not cause that. No ring could cause a bruise like that. Plus, Mr. Crane, he didn't have any rings. At least not on him when he was kicking my ass. I could understand being upset at talking to someone that was hired by your wife to investigate you. However, what I couldn't understand was being attacked for simply saying I was hired by his wife. And what was it he said to me? Not, "How do you know my wife?" but "How did you know my wife?" You don't speak about someone in the past tense unless they've already died. Did that mean Mr. Crane got to Sheri before I could get the evidence up? Or does that mean something else? I pulled my cell phone and dialed the number she'd left me to contact. "Hello?" she asked, a question in her voice. "Sheri, it's me," I said. "Who's me?" was the reply. "Devro, your private investigator." There was silence on the line for a few minutes. "Oh, hey," she said finally. "Do you have that evidence for me?" There was something weird going on. "Are you all right?" "Why, yes. I'm okay right now, just scared. Please get me that evidence. I really need it." I assured her that I was doing all I could before I hung up the phone. She was still alive, albeit a little weird over the phone. Just what in the world was going on?